Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're listening to this at. I'm JT, and welcome to Grilling at the Green here on Golf News Network and a number of stations across the country. Well, if you pay attention to golf, as you probably wouldn't listen to the show if you didn't, the PGA show just got over with. So I asked our uh, good buddy, Ted Simons from Synergy Group Consulting. He went to the show. I think he's been to 235 of them. I'm not sure. But he went. And so I asked him to come on and kind of give us a report. And then later on in the show, tell us what he's up to lately. Ted, welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be back.
So, how was Orlando?
Cold, wet, windy, miserable. But besides that, it was a good time. Yeah. Uh-huh.
There you go. If you don't know, Ted lives in the Scottsdale area down in my old neck of the woods. And anything below 70 is cold, and anything with more than a quarter of a cup of rain is wet. So I just put it out to you that way. So what did you see? There's always fun stuff there, and then goofy
Yeah,
stuff.
there's I mean it was, I've been going and I calculated this out a while ago since 1991, the year of the Callaway Big Bertha. So that starts to date me just a touch.
What?
So I've seen the show from massive, where it's filling up multiple halls, even across the street, to where we had a little economic downturn to where the whole thing shrinks. And now post COVID, we're seeing the show grow again. I haven't had that much enthusiasm on the floor for years. It was well attended and a good energy at the show.
Well, that's good. Now we talked a couple days ago before deciding to do this show. One of the big things, and you're very involved in this, was the tech side. Um, everything from rangefinders to swing monitors to data. A lot of good stuff out there. And sometimes I think for the average golfer, that really doesn't mean a whole lot because they don't play all the time. They're not trying to set the club record or compete in a USGA AMI or something like that. But that technology, I think, helps everybody going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on what segment you go into, if it's rangefinders, that will actually help to speed up play
Right.
because people aren't, stepping off yardages. They're not looking for a marker somewhere. Um, there's very simple launch monitors out there, under $400, $300. So if you use those every once in a while, you'll actually know how far your 7-iron goes, which is always a nice thing.
Oh, yeah.
Not all of us hit at 205 with a 7-iron. Most people are around that 135 range. So if you know how far it goes, your clubs, that seems to help things out. And there's some pretty interesting applications of AI now that we're seeing where you just capture with your iPhone or your Android, and it instantly does its thing and spits out some pretty decent analyses.
I want to go back to something you said there. You said you have launch monitors that are under $400. And of course, we've seen them in the $20,000 range and on down. Probably there's some higher than that. I don't know all of them. But are those $400 units, are they good? I mean, will they help with basic things?
Well, I mean, I call it good enough, right? I mean,
Okay.
unless we're out there, on the tour, if we hit it within 5 yards of our target, we're probably doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So if your launch monitor is off maybe 2 or 3 feet, I don't think it's going to make a huge amount of difference. And those launch monitors just give you basic data, right? Club head speed, distance, hang time, a little bit of roll, some dispersion. Those are the basics. It doesn't get into the deep dive into D planes and low points and all that stuff that the gurus rely on.
Right.
So anybody can make use of an affordable launch monitor and also I think an affordable rangefinder.
I think those are two very good things. And I know that the big tour is now heavily considering pace of play, again, as you mentioned, letting the players and their caddies use rangefinders out there. I don't see anything wrong with that myself. I know there'll be some stoic guys that maybe need to use the restroom or something, but they could really help pace of play. I mean, we saw Dottie Pepper about last week, I think it was, going, my God, look at this. I'm paraphrasing, but it's when they're at they're a, you know, 150 plus field and you've got an hour wait to hit your second shot on number two. Very difficult and eats up a lot of time, makes the tournaments boring on TV because you don't see the players coming through because they're not moving.
You
So,
think?
yeah. So I might have a little bit to do, not all of it, but a little bit to do with the TV ratings kind of dipping down. But I think those are good things. And I think for amateur players like us, um, I don't particularly get too hung up on the slope or anything like that because I don't play with that much consistency anymore. And like you said, if I'm within 3 to 5 yards of the pin or my target, I'm pretty happy. You know, let's just keep moving on. It's pretty happy like that. So I think there's a place for those things a lot.
Well, especially those that occasionally may hit it right or left.
I never had
Um,
that problem.
But I understand that, but there are some players out there that may hit it into the weeds, hit it into the woods, or down here into the desert. Well, your yardage markers are a long way away from where your ball ended up. And if you've got a rangefinder and you can, find a pin somewhere, now you've got a clue, well, at least to try and hit, not that you're going to actually hit it. Yeah, I mean, I think even for the guys on tour, their caddies, they spend so much time when they're offline trying to figure out distances that, yeah, I think that would help the pace of play. When they're in the fairway, I don't think it's that big a deal because these caddies do such a great job of marking the
Right.
course before they ever get out there. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, they do. But, once in a while we actually see a new course slip into the rotation of an event and they've not played it before or they've played it once and they don't have 5 years of yardage books and notes and stuff like that. Um, so I just think it's a great thing. Anything else on the tech side? We've seen all kinds of things now. You got Bluetooth speakers for your golf cart if you're at a club that uses carts and this type of thing. But I'm always amazed at what people can come up with.
Yeah, right now in the industry, I think, simulators are the talk. We're seeing it everywhere from private clubs to garages to commercial applications. And the quality of the data, the images that they're putting out there, to me, it's a quality experience. Where 10 or 15 years ago, I would have laughed at you. I'm going to touch a simulator with a 10-foot pole. Now, yeah, I mean, it's really good stuff, and you're seeing graphics that are just drop dead gorgeous, like your backdrop behind you, and that's in real time. We're seeing the ball fly, and it's accurate. Putting, that's still questionable, but
Yeah.
any other shot, the data's good, and there's more and more players in the field. So whatever price point you want, you can find a simulator now.
Yeah. We're going to take a break. I'm going to be back with Ted, and we're going to talk more about the PGA show and all the new stuff to lighten your wallet with right after this. Welcome back to Grilling at the Green. I'm JT. Today we're talking with my very good friend, the grand poobah of Synergy Group Consulting, Ted Simons from Scottsdale, Arizona. By the way, this is part of the show is brought to you by Painted Hills Natural Beef and the Oregon Dungeness Crab Commission. This is the part, Ted, as you know, because you've been on the show before, where we talk a little bit about golf travel. Any new things at the PGA show for travel?
I didn't find any, but then again, I wasn't necessarily looking for anything in golf travel. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you leave by your house and drive down to In and Out, which is on Frank Lloyd Wright, that's golf travel. Anything you recommend to people?
have a good travel bag and make sure your clubs end up where you're going. That's
There,
about it.
there you go, including In and Out or Krispy Kreme. I'll tell you a quick story. I was there um, when they opened up In and Out and Krispy Kreme. They're right across the parking lot from each other. In fact, they have a shared driveway, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure those people, the city fathers or whatever, knew what to expect. I did, and a lot of other people did. And they had the Scottsdale police there for like 3 weeks directing traffic because it was anytime they open an In and Out and it's new and they've not had one in the area before, and people flock to it. And the same with Krispy Kreme. Uh, Man, it was just nuts.
Yeah, you could throw our local Chick-fil-A in there
Do they have one?
in that same group. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I haven't been down there in 3 or 4 years, so I don't know what they've added and what they haven't, but that was pretty crazy. Anyway, let's go back to the PGA show. By the way, we've got the Portland Golf Show coming up February 28th and the first and second from the Portland Air Expo, and I'll be streaming live there for an hour every day, so you can see stuff out there. Um, I think when people think about golf shows, Ted, they think golf clubs
Yep.
and golf balls. A local show like Portland, you're going to actually find retailers in there to sell you stuff. And that's fine. That's what it's designed for. Not so much at the PGA show. Those are manufacturers and reps that have their own booths, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, you told me that like TaylorMade doesn't go there anymore because they're just, I mean, why?
They decide to save all that money and either keep it in their pockets or put it somewhere else into the budget.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, Titleist has a big presence. Ping has a big presence. Callaway, with the exception of TaylorMade, you will find, all the big guns there, and certainly, a lot of the small guns that are trying to get the attention of the club pros.
Like PXG, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, even PXG isn't even a small guy anymore. But
Right.
some of these new guys that are just making uh irons only, or certainly shaft only companies that have a new wind or a new layup process. They're there, touting their latest and greatest.
Did you see anything that really caught your eye? I mean, you've got 9,000 booths there, so I know you didn't make it to every one of them, but
I did not make it there, but I figured out that if I take every year that I've gone, I should be hitting at about 750 by now, because every year every club and every ball gives me an extra 10 or 15 yards.
there you go. There you go. Well,
No,
I
I mean, there's some really good looking clubs. I think Ping's got, I mean, if you go back into the day, Ping's clubs were, maybe a little clunky looking. I mean,
yeah,
they've just got drop dead gorgeous clubs now. Um, obviously, Titleist kind of leads the market when I think it comes to, visualization as far as how the clubs look. But you've got Bridgestone and Srixon and Cleveland. I mean, everybody's got a good looking club. I don't think there's a bad one out there right now.
No, not really. And of course, when they do, Cobra just did this. I think Titleist just did this. They have limited edition of black or smoke colored irons. They're kind of trick looking, and they
Yeah.
only make, I don't know, pick a number, 500 sets of them or something. And so it's an upsell on the price a little bit, but you don't want to go out there and play. I don't care if it's just your Saturday foursome with your friends or a scramble or just dinking around on a nine to work on your game. You want it to look okay. You don't want to look like they just came out of Goodwill.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good looking sticks out there. So people that are into aesthetics have absolutely no problem now.
I like that. And I know that I saw a couple of things before the show. I did not go. Um, but there were lots of things too, like how would I describe them? Beverage coolers, containers that actually will fit in your golf bag, and those have been around for a while. But these are now they can keep your drinks hot, they can keep your drinks cold, and they will hold 4 or 6 cans of beer if that's what you want to do like that. But there's all these kind of accoutrements now that every year I think people are coming up with, and I kind of find them fascinating because it's not like we need more stuff. I've got a room full of stuff, like that. But
Yeah,
interesting
no,
to
I,
see
I
that.
in fact I just had a call after the show from a gentleman who, he and a partner have invented a new club cleaning tool with a divot repair tool, and this that, and the other. So, yeah, everybody that plays the game always thinks of something that they could have, and then they take, there's a certain percentage to take it to the next level
Right.
and actually design, engineer, prototype it, and see if it take it to the show and see if it works.
I'm going to pull something here, Ted. Come on. I don't know if you can see this, but this is a little deal that actually is supposed to go to the end. I don't know if you can see it. Right into the end of your iron, into the grip. You probably can't see it
Uh-huh.
because my sweater's dark. And it's got a little ball marker, white and black there. Also, the things that if you like to have a cigar, they've got cigar holders now and they've had them for a long time, or a club holder if the fairways and the greens are damp and you don't want to drag a towel out there and throw your handles on a towel that they've got these. I think all that stuff's kind of fascinating. It's got a place, but if they're folks are like me, I buy them and I use them about twice, and I think God they're a pain in the ass, and I put them back in the closet.
Well, I mean, they make a great Christmas gift, great Father's Day gift, a great corporate scramble gift.
Yeah,
So, there's a place for that, and I can tell you that show has it all, has it
I,
all. One
I,
of the things that was, I think, quite fascinating this year was the number of exhibitors that brought in, some rock star, primarily instructors to boost up, interest in their booth and interest in their products and technologies. So it was really good as far as the panels and the speaking groups that were down there.
there you go. We're going to take another break. We're going to be back with Ted Simons from Synergy Group Consulting. He is the CEO, by the way. Ted and I will be right back. Welcome back to Grilling at the Green. I'm JT. We'd like to thank the folks at Squares Golf Shoes. See my hat? That's a Squares hat. Um, I actually am the proud owner of 2 pairs of Squares golf shoes. And Ted, if you don't have them, I would actually recommend. I know you're well connected throughout the industry and you can get whatever you want, but they did make a difference in my old creaky feet. So there.
No, nope. I've actually, they were kind enough to gift me a pair or two, and I'm a firm believer in using the ground with
Yes.
the game of golf. And what they've designed into the toe box and the entire shoe, I mean, it's valid. It works.
Oh yeah. I mean, as you know, I come from the horse world a long time ago like that. And they now have a box toe, square toed, and they were been around for 100 years of cowboy boots. And they're actually the most efficient and comfortable to wear, not with the pointy toe. I just call them pointing toes. Each toe's got a name or an initial. I could never wear those because they hurt my feet, even as a kid. But when I
Yep.
got to the U toes or the J toes or the square toes, it was great. So do that. Also, I want to tell everybody don't forget about my partner in the barbecue show, Leanne Whippens, and her pig powder, uh, voted the best rub on the planet. Go to pigpowder.com. Okay. So, what's the biggest takeaway you had, Ted, from the PGA show?
I would say that I think I may have mentioned it earlier, but the enthusiasm for the golf industry as a whole. Um, the industry, the game got a boost when it came, when COVID came.
Right.
Not there's too many benefits to COVID, but golf was a winner because it was an outdoor sport that you could, be socially distanced or whatever the terminology is. Um, but that momentum has, continued to continue to play out. And there wasn't, I did not hear or see any doom and gloom at the show. Everybody was very upbeat, whether you're an exhibitor, a supplier, somebody like me who, just is there to consult and observe. So I think that's the biggest thing I walked away with is the golf industry right now is in good stead.
Um, were the attendees, could you tell just a casual observation, were there more professionals? When I say professionals, I don't just mean golf pros, but retailers, uh, pro shops, et cetera, like that? Or was it a lot of also people within the industry that play and consumers? That's always, to me, I've done a lot of trade shows, and that to me is always kind of telling of how the quote unquote market will be.
Yeah, no, they've done a good job of keeping the show private, if you will. I mean, yes, the public can sneak in one way or another, but it's true industry people, whether exhibitors, PGA professionals, buyers. But I think this year they reported 33,000 attendees and over 6,000 PGA professionals. So if you
That's good.
consider, yeah, if you consider, those numbers, that's pretty robust.
Do you ever get out on the testing range? I know they have a testing day where you can go out and hit clubs outside if it's not
Uh,
monsooning.
I flew in that day, so I missed that. However, 98% of the people there missed it as well. It was miserable out there. It was horrible. One evening I went to a driving range where In Range, which is a driving range technology company, was hosting an open house. And it was cold and wet, and you had to suffer through to maybe have a cold beverage. Still did it, however, but yeah, the demo day did do as well. But at this show, they also have a very large indoor hitting range,
Right.
and a good number of the club companies and technology companies like a Flight Scope are set up there to for buyers and pros to try out equipment.
If you saw one thing that Ted was going to take home with it at the show, what would have that been?
Well, actually, I just mentioned the name. FlightScope. They've got a new rangefinder
Mm-hmm.
that is pretty trick. Not only does it give you distance and slope and all the wind directions, but if you use that in conjunction with one of their launch monitors, it will actually tell you, based on your data, when you pull up and it says 148 into the wind, it will make a recommendation. Specifically, it'll pull the club for you.
Really?
Yeah. And and it was, I'm not saying it's inexpensive, but it's $450, $499. So under $500, and again, it speeds up play. It knows your game, and it now will, it will help you, hopefully play better. You still have to put a swing on the ball, but at least you got an idea. 'Cause, I mean, I don't know what the statistic is, but I think it's like 85% of shots come up short.
Right.
Right. Well, everybody thinks they hit it further than they do. And if you have a pretty exact number, at least you got a fighting chance.
Maybe.
Well, yeah.
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 Fighting chance.
You can still skip it across the water and get it on the green.
So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was putting greens. Um, there's a lot of putting green manufacturers from very small, roll them up, put it in your suitcase, whatever, to where they do the entire backyard with pavers and putting green and astro turf and what have you, like that. Did you see anything new in that? That's something that people ask me about. Like when I'm doing the trade shows or I run into people, because we interview a whole array of folks on this show, and they want to know, is there anything out there that is really good that they say it's just like putting on a real green, but it's not. So,
Yeah, there's a number of companies that have, if you watch the Tiger and Rory
oh
Golf
yeah,
Expo, not to that extreme, but the technology that allows you to actually program in breaks and undulations in an indoor putting green. Those are pretty special. And they can now in your simulator have movable decks, so you can play uphill, downhill, side hill lies. And they will adjust based on the simulator itself. So if you hit it into an uphill lie on the simulator, the deck will change for you. So, but there's basic putting greens, putting strips, if you will.
right.
Um, there's any number with lines, which are incredibly valuable. If you can't hit a straight putt, you got no chance. Um, and then there's certainly more sophisticated ones that you'd find in an indoor golf center. And then certainly the quality of artificial greens is off the charts good. You can control, speed. If you want it to run at 11, you can make it 11. If you want it to be an 8, you can make it an 8. And it comes down to the installation and the maintenance, just like a regular green. But yeah, if you've got room for one, that's not only are they fun, but it's good for your game.
That sounds like it beats the hell out of going and stealing your wife's dish towels and folding them up and stuffing it under one of those to try to get a break in it or something. I've
Yeah, I
done
saw,
that.
I saw, I saw one that I think that, yeah, the expensive ones are pneumatic lifts.
Right.
This is one that like stepped on the air bubble, and it would create that undulation for it. It's kind of a poor man's Zen green, if you will.
Did you putt on any of them?
I walked around and hit a few putts. That's part of my game that I do spend time on, and I like to try different putters. I think it's interesting to see how something that should be so simple, the industry can make so complex.
Holy crap, that's no kidding. I mean that is like an understatement almost, Ted. Anyway, we are going to take another break. Don't forget about the Portland golf show coming up February 28th through March 1st and 2nd. We'll be streaming live on all our social media platforms and also on Golf News Network each day. And then, of course, the videos and the interviews will live on YouTube when we're done. We're going to take a break. Ted and I will be back right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to Grilling It's Green. Uh, we've got, I've put the wrong sheet up here, Ted. Sorry about that. We've got Ted Simons from Synergy Group Consulting. He's the CEO there. If you didn't know that, Ted's been on the show before, and we chat once a month or so. I always find it fascinating to talk to him. Um, at a show like the PGA show, if you get in to see it, you're gonna walk around and you're gonna see Annika or Justin Rose or some pros like that. You're gonna see some of the LPGA touring ladies here and there. You're gonna see guys off the PGA tour. You're gonna see some top amateurs. You're gonna see some folks off the senior division, if you will, Nancy Lopez or uh, Bernard Langer or whoever, Bernard Langer, I should say. Um, what part do they, and that was a lead in there, what part did those folks play in really trying to keep making the game rise up? I mean, it's doing a good job right now, I think. I'll accept the television aspect of it. But, as far as the drive down here where I live, or probably where you live, try to find an open hole on a course on a sunny day, they're full. So how did those people fit in to the whole dynamic of something like the PGA Tour show and trying to keep people interested?
Yeah, it's you've got to find that it's like any business. You got to have the right personality.
Yeah,
The people. I mean, you can be the greatest of all time, but if you don't have an engaging personality, that's not really going to help. So the ones that you find at the show, as a rule, are those that have demonstrated that they're open to talking about themselves. They're open to, sharing what they find that is good about the game, or in this case, you're good about equipment. They're willing to open up to PGA professionals and talk about the golf swing or a certain piece of technology. So, they become, if you will, the constant of the game are the players that are playing or have played at the highest level. No matter how good you are, you can always, hope to be better.
sure.
And so when they're at the show, sometimes you know, it's a little bit of a, rock star feeling if they get the right people there. During the show, it's the West Coast swing on the PGA Tour. So you don't see any of those gentlemen there. But you do see some LPGA because they're playing in Orlando this week.
Right.
And then there's, always, there's always champions, that aren't out roaming around that are certainly there.
Yeah. Well, it's worthwhile to roam around there, I would think.
Absolutely.
Ted's going to stick around for after hours, and I've got some very pressing questions for him. Not our typical stuff for a guest that hasn't been on before, but we're going to talk about Tiger's deal in the after hours, and I want to get your take on all that, like that. Um, After coming from the PGA show, you work every day in the golf industry in one form or fashion. Uh, Very typical question that people get asked: how can we make golf on TV? Leave Tiger's deal out of this, but the tour broadcasts. I had Keith Hirschland on a couple weeks ago, and I've known Keith for a while now. Um, he was executive producer at Golf Channel for years for the LPGA events and stuff. He had some ideas. I thought all of them were, good, really good. But what would you say to that if I said, Ted, how do we get the interest back on TV? Because that's how they generate a lot of revenue.
I think it generates, I think it's close to 70% of the PGA Tour's budget
Yeah,
is broadcast. I think I mean, they need to show more golf shots. I mean, I don't need to see somebody else, one more person, male, female, otherwise tap in another 6 incher for par or birdie or bogey.
all right,
Yeah, I want to see people hitting golf shots, full shots, trouble shots, different players. Sometimes you feel like, you sit there for 2.5 hours and you saw 8 players.
right,
And it's it gets very arduous. I think in the Tiger era, yeah, if they could follow Tiger around for 18 holes, people would watch for 5 hours.
well,
Um,
sure, but
there
that was
isn't
Tiger.
there, yeah, there's not a Tiger. I want to see, I want to see players that I don't know, but I want them, I want them mixed in with the Spieths and the Schefflers and the Thomases and the Hovlands and the others. It's okay to also see, players struggle. It brings the human nature to the telecast. Not, because we all don't hit it, 345 Rory McIlroy down the middle of the fairway.
Right, right. We're lucky if we hit it 45 down the middle of the fairway some days. So,
Yeah, with a sprinkler head.
yeah, absolutely. Ted, thank you for joining us. Like I said, folks, Ted's going to be around for the after hours. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
They can find us on that internet thing. I don't know
Oh,
if you
yeah.
have it there in Oregon.
We got
Uh,
Dixie
that,
cups with strings.
okay. At synergygroupconsulting.net is the company. And then you can also find, Ted Simons on LinkedIn.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we're going to get out of here. Like I said, Ted and I are going to stick around for after hours. Thank you for listening. Thank you to all our sponsors, Squares, uh, Painted Hills, the Crab Folks, Pig Powder, Grilla Grills, Hammerstall. Just keeps going. Anyway, we'll be back next week with another edition of Grilling at the Green. Take care, everybody. Welcome to After Hours here on Grilling at the Green. I'm JT, and we've got Ted Simons with us today, CEO of Synergy Group Consulting. So we kind of led into this at the back of the main show, Ted. Um, Tiger's deal. I'm about 50-50 on it right now. That's just me. And I haven't watched what has there been 3 or 4 of them. I've watched like one and a half of them. So I think that facility that they put together is pretty cool, especially the green. And you were talking about that it changes and undulations and rises and, all that kind of stuff. That's pretty cool. Um, I think they wanted the players to be more interactive with each other. But as you and I talked off the air the other day, they probably aren't going to talk the way they talk when it's just them on the course. And they're playing for $1,000 a hole or something. You know what I mean? They're
The language might be a little more colorful.
a
Yeah.
little colorful, yes, like that, and frequent.
Mhm.
And there would be, questioning of one's parentage, etc. So, but like Tiger's thing, I think it's a good idea. It's fun, but the thing that sets in my mind is I look at that surroundings, and I'm not opposed to this. I just haven't kind of figured out how to, I don't know, think about it properly, I guess. But it also looks to me like it's something, uh, a betting situation, gambling, and I'm not opposed to gambling. I made my living for a few years as a gambler, but that's what it seems to me. It's almost like the Romans and the circus, you know what I mean, in the Colosseum, except we're hitting balls. So how's that for some really strange analysis for you? But I wanted to get your take on that.
I'm in the camp with you. I'm not wildly excited about it. And I'm not a purist. I'm an innovator. I love technology. I mean, that's kind of my mark right now is
Sure.
technologies. And so the technology side of it, I enjoy. The parts that I mean, you already touched on, not all players have personalities. Um, I think each episode, if you will probably get better because the other players will have watched other players and they'll start to get a little bit better cadence of how to interact. A couple things that I wish, I wish they were playing what I would call a little more normal golf courses. The golf holes look like a video game, and uh, I don't find that interesting. I'd rather, maybe iconic holes would be better. And I think the green, and again, it's based on the design of from the designer, the architects of the golf holes. Yeah, I think the greens are a little too tricked out to be realistic. It's fun to see them fail because
Yeah.
it makes it okay to fail. But when you see some of the ups and downs and overs and plateaus, and yeah, it's not real either. So
Yeah. I just, like I said, I'm not, it's too early for me to have, in my mind, a solid opinion of it. But as we talked in the regular show, simulators and stuff are big now. We've actually, I don't know if it's reached its peak as far as restaurant or bar room settings. We can go in and have some bar food, and you and your friends can, pick Pebble Beach to play for an hour. And, when you don't have to walk and you don't have to do that, it moves it along pretty fast. So
yep.
you can do that. We've already had a couple of them close because I think they probably overspent on their simulators and build outs because they didn't own the buildings. And as you know, as I know, that you get those triple net leases and that stuff, it gets expensive. So the thought in our area was because of our winters, which are mostly wet and soggy, that this would be a place for people to congregate, an indoor version of Top Golf, if you will, like that. So the ones that have been successful are still going. The ones that were a little marginal, I think they're gone now or going. But back to television. Um, you know how they do, like with the NFL coaches at halftime, they catch them when they're going off the field or coming back and saying, "Hey, Coach Ted, what do you need to do for your defense, second half, whatever?" Those little comments. I think they're trying to integrate that in there, but they've got to have people that, like you said, have a big personality and can talk and say, "Boy, I hit that shot like crap," or whatever. So I think if they get that, I think maybe it might be something.
Yeah, I think, and again, I think things will improve as the players understand their role in the success of the league.
Right.
Um, it's just not, how well you play. It's not even, I understand there's money involved in winning, but these guys are making enough money anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants to win. But I think if they see that it's as important, if not more, to sell the product versus sell your ability. Your capability is already established. That's why you're there. Um, so it is it's supposed to be entertainment, and so you need to become an entertainer whether you like it or not. I mean, we've all been in that boat.
Yeah, and I actually think too, the stuff we see late in the fall, early December, some of those they used to call it the silly season, those tournaments, the PNC, et cetera, et cetera. If I was going to advise Tiger and those guys, I would say you need to have uh, mixed teams, and maybe they will. But have Rory and Nelly Corda, team up against Tiger and somebody else, whoever it is, and do that, and have them, because I know they do play together once in a while, and when there's no microphones around, they are always giving each other the jazz, like that. And so I think maybe that would be a little more entertaining and see the human side of them when they really muff a shot and their teammate really sticks it in their ear on the deal.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I thought early on if they could, do something what you're talking about, incorporate, you know, male, female, teams playing groups. I think it would be, I think it would be way more interesting. Um, and I think it would be good for both sides of the equation. Most male golfers, if they have the opportunity to watch LPGA players, will gain more from that than watching PGA players. I mean, you learn the importance of tempo and and hitting the ball square from a little 135-pound girl smacking it down the fairway 285 than some guy at 235 that's smacking at 350.
Right. I've covered quite a number of LPGA tournaments, and I am always impressed that for the most part, hard for them to compete with Rory, you know, or Ludwig or some of those guys that can really kill it out there. But as far as accuracy, I'll stack those LPGA players up against the PGA Tour players any day because they may be shorter in distance and not by a whole hell of a lot, but they are far more accurate on their shots for the most part. I don't know the comparing stats, but I would
Yeah,
because I
I had a come to Jesus offering years ago in Jeremy Ranch in Park City. I was playing with Danielle Lamakapani, who at the time was number one in the world with Dottie Pepper, and we're playing my home course. And yeah, I hit my drive out there. She hits her drive out there, and she's playing appropriate tee. She plays whatever tee the distance makes sense based on the LPGA.
sure.
And so sometimes we'd be at the same marker, sometimes she'd be, one or two ahead of me. And we get out to our balls and I'd have a 7 iron in my hand and she'd have a 5 wood. And she'd hit it within 6 feet and I'd hit it within 6 yards. And I'm going, okay, get to the next hole, and it's the same thing. Their ability to hit long clubs in close that I mean, I did not have that skill set at that time, and it was demoralizing and gave me a true appreciation for how good the ladies are, the girls are, and to this day, like I say, I would rather watch their swings as far as getting into a tempo and course management versus watching guys hit at 340. We don't hit
Yeah.
at 340. We're lucky to
Yeah.
hit at 250. So,
Danielle is going to be on the show here shortly.
oh, okay.
talking
Talking
about
about her tour.
Yeah, talking about her new tour and stuff coming
Yeah.
up. So
Yeah. I just met with the commissioner yesterday.
oh, you did. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we've not to get in the weeds here, but I reached out to her almost a year ago, I think. And we follow each other on LinkedIn, and finally we talked and kind of waited till all this stuff started to come to fruition before there was some substance there to talk about. And yeah, she's gonna. I don't know exactly when, probably within the next month. And so we'll do that. It's all
Yeah.
good.
Good timing.
So, how's your game, Ted?
My game is we'll just call it on the shelf. I've yet to come back from my L1 through L5 spinal fusion.
Yeah,
Um, I'm at a point where quality of life is better than quality of golf.
yeah,
So I prefer walking around the PGA show pain free, and walking, sitting, standing, doing what I do on a daily basis versus maybe over torquing a silly golf shot and not enjoying my life. So
Been there, done that. All of it, what you just mentioned, all the aforementioned, have the same rebuild process
yep,
in the back there. And now with both knees, I figure in another 15 years, I'll be probably dead, but I just kind of going for it. But it does make a big difference. It makes a
yes.
huge difference. I can't rotate like I used to. Okay, I can live with that. But when I go to swing the club, I'm not getting three-quarters of the way through the swing and starting to turn and have a shooting pain that goes from your ears to your toes, you know.
Yeah, wincing is not good. No, it's not
No,
good.
no, no bueno, no bueno. Okay, last question, my friend. You put your prognostication hat on and tell us what Ted's thoughts are of going forward with golf in general. We kind of covered the tours and stuff, but you just came from the show. You work in this, you consult with this stuff every day. Are we in a good place? And are we going to keep being in a good place and keep expanding or what?
There's a couple of factions that are on the positive, which is the industry, whether it's club owners or developers, are embracing short courses, non-traditional golf courses, whether it's 6 holes, 9 holes, 12 holes, any configuration that allows people to go play the game faster,
Right.
to go out and spend, just an hour with you and say your two boys and play 6 holes, short holes. That is what I think the game needs. But my big thing, and I wouldn't say I'm on the pulpit here, but you know, we have this, I call them top golfers, right? They go out, they go out once or twice, have a good time with their friends. They certainly, maybe enjoy some food and beverage at the time. Occasionally they hit it into the clown's mouth. They go, now this game would be fun. And then they show up to a golf course, pay 150 to $300, and 5 hours of their life is miserable. We don't do a good job transitioning the top golfer to the golf course. And I think there's a big miss there. And I'm finding people that are starting to think like me. They're not following me yet, but they're thinking like me as far as, yeah, putting together programs that allow us to transition that driving range golfer onto the green grass to where they're comfortable. Their game's not any better, but they're comfortable. 18 holes is a pretty intimidating factor.
I would just off the top of my hat hanger here, I would think that if you did that, Top Golf, or even some of these simulators, if they went out and created a little network of just 9 hole courses, you know, that you could, after work, take you an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's going to be a little longer if you've not played on grass before, but work out a deal with them that they block out, 2 hours worth of tee times for these people to come in and play. Like you said, 18 can be intimidating. And if you haven't played 18, it can be very fatiguing like that. And just make it so it's kind of fun and get out there and maybe even have their assistant pro or pro out there rotating on the holes and they can ask them questions, like that. Not a full lesson, just, little tidbits here and there. Maybe something like that would help. I don't know. That's first blush. I haven't put much thought into it, obviously, but maybe something like that because I know the 9 hole courses, especially on really nice days, they don't get as much traffic as the bigger courses, the 18s and stuff, because if you've played before, you want to go play an 18 with your friends. Okay. Um, I don't know, maybe something like that. Who knows?
Yep, no, and set the golf course up appropriate, provide some up tees that are 100
Yep.
yards long. And again, it's all about, providing people the opportunity to have success. If you have success, you'll stay at something. If you fail for 5 hours, probably not coming back.
No, probably not. Ted, thank you, my friend. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And again, whip out your URL, as they call it, and tell them where they can find you.
Synergygroupconsulting.net.
Okay, very good. Ted, thank you. We'll be back next week with another edition of Grilling at the Green. Until then, go out, play some golf, have some fun, and most of all, be kind. Take care, everybody.